I keep messing this one. Why is talking about us so hard?
Okay, this is a situation. Okay, I have.
Oh, well, it's a little bit harder than it's a little bit harder, huh?
We can do that.
No, it's just talking about us, babe. Just talking about us.
Okay, let's just talk about it.
Dude, my last trip.
Buckle up. Welcome back to Dude My Last Trip, a podcast about DMT. Rory and I are together in person.
And together. Um, so this podcast is about finding your soulmate on DMT, which is essentially what we did.
Yeah, unintentionally, kind of intentionally.
I think it's more about aligning, and I still think it has a lot to do with frequency and vibration, and both of our healing journeys. Because mine was very quick, so to speak. It was a year, but it was fast tracked and necessary for us to get to where we're at today,
Hmm.
which I'm getting ready to move across the country.
Now we're gonna start our life together.
Yeah, on top of all the crazy shit that we're doing.
Yeah.
Our story on how we got together is kind of interesting because she had called in her soulmate in March, and March is when my healing journey began. And that was when I was first called up to the six builders that we saw, and my very first breakthrough dose that was wild. And then it just kind of kept getting wilder through the activations of all the chakras and my Medusa giving me the serpent, and just how everything unfolded. Now that we're here, it's kind of funny to look back and reflect on how we got here.
How we were led here.
Yeah. So when I was kicked out of the DMT space for not making a TikTok, the last vision I had was an empty bed, and a bed with dark hair, a girl sitting in the center of the bed with dark hair and glasses. She doesn't always wear glasses, but she has them. I've seen them. That was the kind of kickoff to, if you're not going to get what you want, because at the time in my healing journey, it's manifesting wealth, family, and a home. That was very important to me. And that's what I was trying to figure out, because I'm watching all these videos of like manifesting and trying to align your frequency to what you're trying to get, and or what you're trying to manifest, and all of these. And they're like, well, you have to think like you already have it, and that's really hard when you don't have it. A lot of that doesn't make sense. So, and then the other thing I think that was also kind of funny was because I wasn't ready for a relationship. I didn't that, and it was part of like getting what you want is to not really wanting it, right? That's kind of
Not needing it.
not needing it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, I, and just kind of became a magnet because I was just not needing that. I was so focused on healing, and then I was so focused on this next part of my life, and how everything was unfolding through how much DMT we were using, or I was using at the time. So after I finally create my TikTok, the first person I connect with is Brad of Arc. The second person is Melisa. And I was like, we both fed when we first started talking. It was like I was like, my soulmate's in Peru, and my twin flame is wherever. And then I had a gal reach out to me, and she did an Akashic Records reading, and I asked about my twin flame, and she's like, "Oh no, she's far away."
She said, your soulmate's not here. She's 2,000 miles. She lives
Oh
2,000 miles away.
yeah,
I was single, independent, and free for 13 years. And I was very much anchored in the identity of like, I'm a lone wolf. I have for like the last year, probably year and a half, I've been very starting to like consciously like allow myself to acknowledge the fact that like I was ready for my person. But I didn't just want my person. I was like only available for my soulmate. And I had no idea how I was going to find my soulmate because I don't enjoy dating at all.
no,
I was not on any of the apps. I had no intention on going on any of the apps. On social media, I'm a straight up lurker, like, and I'm very much an introvert and I love to be at home. So the odds were kind of stacked against me in terms of like how I would meet somebody. However, I knew that soul would find a way, and my job was to become the best version of myself, the best version of me that I wanted to be for my soulmate. So I was doing a lot of like this inner work. I got my cat, which was very intentional for me to start to like open up my home and open up my heart and like have something depend on me. And she really, it worked, she really did.
yeah, because the other option was being the crazy cat lady.
That was, yeah. And that,
Yeah.
yeah, that was option number two, which, which don't get me wrong, I did consider. But I was working with Kirsten. I was on my second package with her, so I was already pretty well versed with working with the molecule. And what I was really interested in learning from DMT was manifestation. And so, obviously, one of the things that I was wanting to manifest was my divine union partner. And so she guided me with DMT in a very sacred manifestation ceremony to call in. It was very specific. Like I wasn't calling in my soulmate. I was calling in the divine union partner that was the highest harmonic resonance with me, right? Which would be the optimal match. Soulmate is a broad term. Soulmate, like my best friend is also my soulmate, you know?
Yeah.
So with DMT, you want to be very fucking specific. And so that was what we manifested. But part of that ceremony was writing out or like speaking out and stating an entire list of like exactly the qualities that I was looking for. And she and I went back and forth on some of them um, to help me soften or help me open or be more open-minded or whatever. But we came up with like this very comprehensive idea of what I was looking for in a partner and matching that against the harmonics of whoever was a divine union match in highest resonance to me. And we did this really beautiful ceremony, and I was kind of like, okay, cool, like he's on the way. Um, and this was March, April. So that's where I was at in March, April.
Hmm.
So then that was the same time that you got initiated into your healing era, right?
Yeah. So February, when I first moved into the trailer, it was just kind of learning about frequency and vibration. And then in March, when I started brewing and taking DMT to another level and really starting to heal and that's also when I was going through the dark night of the soul and when I was in the isolation portion of the healing journey, which that is not a very fun place to be in, but I was also just going through all of this, and I didn't want to be around anybody else because it's just so weird.
And intense and
It's so
emotional.
intense and emotional, and I cry for hours at a time, and I'm detoxing, and I'm doing all this healing stuff to align to the frequency and vibration of what I wanted. What I truly wanted was family, wealth, and a home. And I'm sure there's a lot of men that's what they want, and that's not. I I felt like it was my birthright. I just wanted uh, a family, a home to raise them in, and the money to take care of them. Like that's just what I've always wanted, and I've wanted um to be the support for my family and all that. And at 40 years old and single, I'm like, and my typical way of 3D thinking was, fuck, this journey, this manifestation's coming to an end. It's like I don't know if I I just kind of felt like I was getting too old to start a family, and I had lots of things kind of stacked against me, and not things. It was my own ideas that were stacked against me, my own ideas of how I thought my life was going to be, what and who I was going to share it with. And so I finally start the TikTok, and Melisa comes into my life, and we do our first astral travel together, was our first journey. And we just kind of had this, for a stranger that I met off the internet, we were just able to have these amazing conversations, and we were able to just communicate so clearly.
It was like, well, how would you describe our connection at first? Because, like, I always say for me, it was like best friend
Yeah,
vibes.
100%.
We instant connection as if we had known each other forever. I instantly could just be completely myself around you. I could be weird, I could be silly, like we would get on Zoom, I wouldn't care like if I was wearing makeup or like wearing, you know what I mean? Like it was just I was just like me right off the
Yeah,
bat.
same. And that's then just kind of that level of comfortability kind of steered us in a new direction, because after that we went to the morphogenic field under the Sphinx. When we got there, um, which was that's a whole kind of crazy story on its own, but when after that we had this big confirmation, and then all of a sudden after that journey we had a mission, and I had purpose,
Mhm.
and I had all these things that I really haven't had most of my life, that were not superficial. It's like all of a sudden I'm linked in with this greater purpose of what we're doing, and everything's starting to be revealed to us slowly. And because we had such this open, honest level of communication, we did a ceremony, our third ceremony, which was where we did DMT, and we looked at each other. The first time we did this, we just did this over Zoom. And it's kind of like looking into somebody's soul. It's
Mhm.
very interesting.
It's very intimate.
It's very intimate. It's like I wouldn't do it with random strangers, but I don't know. There was just something about her bringing that up. And then I had started having this weird dream about me going out to Nashville and hanging out with my other friends that live in Nashville, and like calling her up, and like having her drive, and we met in Nashville, and basically we're naked in a hotel room and lined up chakras and did DMT. And when our pineal gland touches, I woke up. That was a crazy confirmation for something later in the story, but what we're started realizing as we come is like all these other journeys were pre-memories, or I don't know how you would describe them, but like visions of what we were supposed to do the whole time. Um,
Which is interesting because you were having visions of me, but I
mhm.
wasn't having visions of you,
Yeah.
which I feel like I sort of had this veil over my eyes that was like preventing me from seeing you in that way for whatever reason. Like, I think to protect us and keep the pace of our unfolding, maybe.
Yeah, probably. And it was like just also divine timing, right? Like I was during this whole process, I'm still kind of healing, I'm still going through stuff, and you were still kind of healing and still going through stuff, and it was just kind of putting the timing together. Like everything was in place, but it just wasn't ready to fall yet.
And I think we were very close to highest harmonic resonance, but we
Yeah,
weren't vibing at a full lock-in at that point.
no.
Because like I remember thinking like there's still some more growth that like we both would have to do.
And then I fly across the country. I fly after we've been talking for what was it, 6 weeks or something, total.
6 weeks and 6,727 lifetimes.
Yeah. So we finally decide to meet each other in person. I fly out to Tennessee to meet a stranger I met off TikTok 6 weeks ago. And within an hour, we go have lunch. And the very first thing we do is we do that where we look into each other's eyes. And we looked into each other's eyes, and I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden and it's an eyes open DMT trip, which if you've never done those are interesting too.
Very.
They're very interesting. And she like turns into a baby, a teenager, an adult, an old lady with like long white hair, and then it recycles. And each time it's like getting older and older, and I'm like talking like tribal hair and like just all these crazy things. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, that's how many lifetimes we've known each other. And that was the deep knowing that I had right off the bat with that one. And then we aligned our chakras for the next one, and she built a torsion field, which is basically how we communicate now. We're working on telepathic messaging, and so there's a bunch of new stuff unfolding too.
Really exciting.
And we'll have an entire thing on that. So, and then I forget. Oh, then we went back to the morphogenic field. I think there was one more that I can't remember that
We
we
met our
did.
shared guide.
We met our shared guide.
Hmm.
So immediately we landed, and or like while we were on the trip, we definitely had feelings for each other. But I lived in California.
But also like we were very like mission first.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of it.
Hmm.
We were doing such important soul work. And by this point, you were in our group.
Yeah.
And as a group, we were doing really important missions and soul work. And this whole um, path now of going around to these sites and doing grid work was starting to unfold. And so I was like, Rory, like we have like the next several years of deep soul work for like our own personal mission between us and our guide, but also in this bigger group for the collective. And like I'm just thinking like my like our human could fuck this up if we
Mm.
take it to that level and we ruin the friendship. You know what I mean? Like what if something goes wrong? What if it doesn't work out? Then not only do we fuck up things for our mission, but we fuck up things for the entire group. So that was a big reason why I really felt like like we had to put up at least like some type of wall between taking it to that level at that time at least.
Yeah. And so everything was pretty much hunky dory um, until I made you really mad. And then I realized that there's a thing called DMT divorce court. So what since our souls were braided, which we'll talk about how all of this kind of plays like a crazy part of our story and how it aligned everything to have everything perfect for this divine union. So, anyways, I go into DMT the very next time, and I'm surrounded by all of these attorneys, like DMT spirit guide lawyers, and they're like doing all this paperwork, and there's a courtroom that's in front of this big white pyramid with a celestial being sitting in front of it who's the judge, and it looked like a real courtroom. It's just outside. And then they had our shared spirit guide on the stand, and like, I don't know what I did, like. And so I come out and I text her. I was like, you destroyed the braid. And I was like, I don't know why you did that, but that they're upset. And so go ahead how you actually did that.
Well, I did it on accident, kind of.
Hmm.
I wanted a break. Like, listen, first of all, this shit is intense, okay? Like any
Yeah.
relationship is intense, but when you're braided with somebody on a soul level, the initiations and the shadow work, like triggers that come up for you, are deeper than like anything I've ever experienced in any other relationship.
Oh yeah.
And they are intense to the level that it could completely destroy you. It's almost like they take you to that edge to see if you can survive it.
Hmm.
And so I felt like I needed to have some space from our connection because like you and I are so fucking deeply connected. Like we can be on the other side of the country and I feel what he's feeling,
Hmm.
and I feel it in every cell in my body. And I needed a little break. So what I did was like I was high in bed, just on like a little bit of weed for a head change. I did not even do DMT for this, and I just literally like 30 seconds long is all it took. I just closed my eyes. I went into a quick little meditation. I went to our braid and I just unweaved us. And I just pulled my strand back. But I left a tether because I knew at some point we would come back into alignment. And I left a tether so that when both of us were in alignment, we could come back and reweave from that place. So that's all it was like 30 seconds, no DMT, high in bed, unweave real quick. I was fully back in my own energy. Anyways, you call me the next day. You're livid because you went to DMT divorce court.
Hmm.
He tells me what happened. I start crying because I'm like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't think it was even gonna work. I didn't even do it with DMT. Like, I had no idea I was that powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was intense.
Hmm.
But it made us stronger.
Well, it did because before Shasta, we did a rebraid in person because we had never braided in person. So we did a rebraid before Shasta. Then we went through all the Shasta life-changing things. And then after that, um,
Well, we basically like, and we always say like we walked into a different reality. Like
mhm,
now looking back, I can see how that initiation was necessary for us to become the versions of ourselves on the other side of Shasta,
yeah.
fully aligned, fully locked in full divine coherence with each other. it was like any residue of like the old timeline, any old distortion that was present anywhere between us or in the braid had to be dissolved and eliminated and cleared. And so I think now looking back, like to unbraid and then rebraid right before we walk into the new timeline was absolutely necessary.
Well, and also what I realized too is I didn't have my own, there was a bunch of things I had to do. Like I wasn't anchored into the grid properly because of how we braided. So like I had to create a Y and for our braid and then for my own tether to the crystalline grid. And so basically they broke it apart to put everything back together the way it was meant to be
Yeah.
the whole time. So, um, and now we're here.
And like after Shasta, it was just we came back that day after the portal and we were just like looking into each other's eyes and it was just like everything was different.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And that's how DMT helps you find your soulmate.
Yeah. Um, so yeah.
But I'm thankful to DMT because, I guess I never thought I'd be here. Even though I was like calling it in, it's one thing to have it be this like amorphous thing that's out there, and then quite another to actually be living it.
Hmm.
And not only living it, but like living it in the most magical way where literally every single day we're like, how is this our real life? Like, this is so special and wild and crazy and unexpected.
It's a journey for sure. And this story is still unfolding as we embark on this next chapter of this very wild tale.
All right, well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.